Around the world, we're all still feeling the shockwaves of the financial crash of 2008.
You really can feel the fear down here.
The Dow has had its worst 5 days in 5 years.
Until that crisis hit, Western leaders had put their faith in the free market as the best way to generate wealth. But in their version of the market, derived from thinkers like Milton Friedman, they still believed if things went wrong, they could step in, tweak the system, and get everything back on track. Today, fans of the Austrian economist Friedrich Hayek say it's that arrogance, that distorted picture of a market economy that got us into this mess. If we want to try to get out of it, we need to try the real thing. To understand how governments, not markets, might have caused the crisis, we need to wind the clock back to the years leading up to it.
America's interest rates have been cut. That was expected, but the timing has come as a surprise.
It's January 2001, and America's central bank, the Federal Reserve, has cut interest rates because it's worried the US economy is slowing down. Now, it cut interest rates for the same reason central banks always do, to make it cheaper for companies and households to borrow and seek out profitable investments. The president was pleased, as you might imagine. This is the kind of thing presidents expect central banks to do, to avoid economic trouble.
I think the cut was needed. It was a strong statement that measures must be taken to make sure our economy does not go into a tailspin.
Had Friedrich Hayek been alive, he would have taken a very different view. Far from avoiding trouble, Hayek would have seen the Federal Reserve's decision to cut interest rates as sowing the seeds of today's financial crisis. In fact, Hayek believed almost any government intervention in the market, like propping up failing businesses, setting trade tariffs, or manipulating interest rates, risked disaster. In the years after 2001, the Federal Reserve carried on cutting interest rates, helping to fuel a property boom that ultimately couldn't be sustained. Early in 2007, America's housing bubble burst and the global financial crisis began, just as Hayek might have predicted.
The conventional wisdom was that none of these events were foreseeable. We couldn't have done anything about it. But of course, all of that was false. What's playing out before our eyes is exactly what men like Hayek predicted would happen.
At first glance, the Hayek view of the crisis looks a bit familiar, but don't be fooled.
You probably feel like you've heard this argument before, that the Federal Reserve partly caused the crisis by setting interest rates too low, encouraging everyone to borrow too much and generally do silly things. But the argument of Hayek and his followers actually runs deeper than that. It's not just that they got their sums wrong and they didn't set the right interest rate. It's that they shouldn't have been in the business of setting interest rates at all. It's this radical rejection of the state's role in regulating the market that sets Hayek apart from other free market thinkers. He believed the market would do a far better job regulating itself if only governments would just leave it alone.